Welcome all. Welcome, folks. You know what? For the first time this offseason, I actually see a little bit of light, a little bit of sunshine. Throughout this whole offseason, us Met fans have been begging for positivity, for news, for hope. And finally, it seems as though the Yamamoto sweepstakes, the Yamamoto watch has paid off. Last night, we just had the biggest encounter in Yamamoto land with the New York Mets that I could have ever imagined. And we're going to have this major update, and I'm going to examine. There were articles and news stories all over the Cohen Yamamoto meeting. It happened last night. It happened while Hal Steinbrenner was doing whatever he was doing, while the Dodgers GM/president were doing what they were doing. Our president, our owner, were together. Well, although I don't know if the Stearns was there, I know Carlos Mendoza was there at the Steve Cohen mansion in Connecticut, and that's where it all took place. And I'm going to go over what was extremely important about this, and we're going to go through some news story, the best news story, in my opinion, that kind of details what the heck happened and what's going to happen next. And we're going to do that right now. But first, as always, so you don't miss our videos and our updates, please like, please subscribe. Cannot thank you enough. As always, join the family. All right, let's get to it right now. Okay, so there were a ton of articles that came out today. Bleacher Report, Mets Side, and Mets Seas, whatever article you wanted or had to deal with the Mets Sports Illustrated, they were all on the encounter last night with Steve Cohen and Yamamoto. But the one that I like the best is this one by Jason Burgos from Sportsnaut, and it goes like this. New York Mets talks with Yoshinobu Yamamoto expected to accelerate this week after major development. Okay, so it seems that the New York Mets' pursuit of Yamamoto could intensify this week after the organization had its second meeting with the Japanese ace this weekend. While the Mets were expected to be more conservative this offseason than years past when it comes to Yamamoto, all bets are off right now. The three-time Nippon professional baseball MVP is arguably the most sought-after player on this year's market after becoming Asia's best pitcher at age 25. Even before the 2023 MLB season ended, the Mets pursuing the Oryx Buffalo star had former general manager Billy Epler make a trip to Japan to scout him in person. When the free agent market officially opened last month, the organization made their interest known, and owner Steve Cohen also made a trip to the land of the rising sun, Japan, to meet the young pitcher and his representation earlier this month. We're going to talk about the importance like that in our third segment. That meeting reportedly made an impression and has, at very least, help the Mets make one of the top contenders or be one of the top contenders for Yamamoto. However, the competing crosstown rivals, the New York Yankees, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, the Giants, reportedly have already made $300 million offers on the table for Yamamoto. But listen, it gets good. All right, so the New York Mets, we all know, had a second meeting with Yamamoto Saturday night at Steve Cohen's home in Connecticut. Okay, it seems those offers that were made by other teams and other wealthy organizations have not diminished the Mets' chances in the Yamamoto sweepstakes. Listen, this is very important. On Sunday morning, SNY MLB insider Andy Martino reported the pitcher had a second dinner meeting with the representatives of the team on Saturday night at Cohen. Okay, we already know that. All right, let's keep following along because something very important is going to be said. The meeting reportedly included new manager Carlos Mendoza, pitching coach Jeremy Hefner. It is unclear if this officially means they are the finalists, but that would indicate as much. Martino also revealed that the Mets have not made an offer to the pitcher yet, but he expects the negotiations to accelerate this week. The Yankees are also expected to have a second meeting with Yamamoto in the coming days. However, there have been reports that Cohen would be willing to match any offer for Yamamoto's services by a competing team. And in my eyes, that means he is willing to be any offer of any competing team. And that is super, super, super significant. And we have more to talk about in our next segment coming up right now. Okay, folks. Now, we just spoke about the major development of Yamamoto coming to Steve Cohen's home in Connecticut. What could this all mean? We all know that Yamamoto was sitting in LA meeting with other teams and they were coming to him. But Yamamoto has come directly into the home of our owner, Steve Cohen. Why is there such a difference in the way he acts with the New York Mets as opposed to every other ball club? Apparently, there are a dozen teams interested. So why is it so different with Mr. Steve Cohen? Well, I'll tell you this. And anybody who's listened to my past videos already heard me say this about 2 or 3 times. And honestly, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert, but the tiny bit of research that I've read on Japanese culture is if you have business, if you're in a business relationship and you have 2 heads of business, so we're going to say Yamamoto, he's in charge of his organization, he's in charge of his brand. Steve Cohen, he's in charge of the Mets, he is the owner of the Mets brand. Now, if they want to do business together, they are the both heads, right? So that relationship between both heads of business is extremely important in Japanese culture. To have that relationship and develop that relationship and develop that bond is what it's all about if you're going into business. So we see Steve Cohen went to the home. The symbolism of Steve Cohen going into the home of Yamamoto, the symbolism of Yamamoto coming into the home of Steve Cohen just shows you that they are developing that relationship, developing the start of that bond, that brand. And I that cannot be understated because that is exactly geared to what Yamamoto is looking for. And also too, don't lose anything. Details are there. Yamamoto wants to move to New York. Maybe Yamamoto's concerned, I don't want to move, into a busy city. Steve Cohen's like, hey, there's plenty of places for you to live. In fact, you know what? Come on to my home in Connecticut. We have beautiful areas in Connecticut. It's only a half hour, 45 minutes away from the stadium. A Japanese superstar, Yamamoto, like, oh, okay, really? So there's so many different symbolism or aspects of Yamamoto going into the home, and still, not for nothing, you could really look at it like, look, okay, he's looking at the areas to live in Connecticut. I'm pretty sure it was symbolic. He didn't invite him to his Great Neck home. He didn't invite him to his home in the city. He invited him to his home in Connecticut. So I'm pretty sure that was symbolic as well, probably showing him nice areas in Connecticut and that maybe Yamamoto desired to live in. But it just seems like to me, if I had a guess, it's going to come down to the Yankees and the Mets. The Dodgers, we saw they pivoted to glass now. Doesn't necessarily mean they're out of the Yamamoto sweepstakes, but I think that it's really going to be tough for them, especially with the Yamamoto price tag going so super high. I think the Dodgers are around 255. So if they're going to have to pay Yamamoto around $40 million plus fill in the gaps with other players, they're going to be just over the 297 Steve Cohen tax threshold. And that's not going to be a good place to be, just over it, having to pay those penalties for nothing. So I see the Dodgers have already pivoted. And while the Dodgers were constructing the Glasnow trade, Steve Cohen was constructing a meeting in Connecticut with Yamamoto. So I'm fine with that. But like I said, I think it's going to come down to the Yankees. I think it's going to come down to the Mets. It seems like Yamamoto is heavily interested in coming to New York. And I think that Steve Cohen has convinced Yamamoto of a different vision, that it's not all about what a team has done in the past. It's more about what a team is going to do in the future. And Steve Cohen saying, hey, Yamamoto, I have unlimited resources. We are building a brand. You are going to be the face of that brand. You are going to be the reason why kids in Japan will come over to this team 20 years from now, and you are going to be the face. Just like you saw Derek Jeter 20 years ago on the New York Yankees, now kids are going to see Yamamoto in a New York Mets uniform for the New York Mets. So it's a little bit of a different sell, and I got to give Steve Cohen a round of applause because there is no other owner in Major League Baseball that does what Steve Cohen does. No other owner. Steve Cohen, I've been disappointed in the hires in the last couple of years. It hasn't gone the way we wanted it to go. But at the end of the day, Steve Cohen has always tried his best to get the free agents or to do whatever he could do to move the needle. So round of applause for that. Well deserved. Let's see what happens. We're going to continue to follow the Yamamoto watch. We will continue to have any updates. Please like, subscribe. Cannot thank you enough. I will speak to you very, very soon.